Bend the knees. Oh, mate. I don't believe it. We finally got those beams up. Stick around and I will show you how we did it. We finally got half a wall up this end. It's nailed in at the bottom, nailed in at the top, and you can see we've gone for a flat wall plate. So it will continue round like it is on this side. We could have built a gable end with kind of diminishing studs cut at an angle, and that was the original plan, but we didn't have enough 4.8 metre lengths of CLS to do that. Hence why we had loads of 2.4, so we've gone for a flat. Right, we're done with our column this end. We ended up doing 3 on each side. It looks like an awful lot of timber, but it is. It's the only way we can carry the glulam kind of weight down, and at the bottom of here, underneath the steel, there'll be a support as well, or 2 support stands. That end's done. We've kind of got to do the same thing at the other end, albeit at 90 degrees. Now, of course, we built the middle wall out of 63mm CLS. We need to jump that up to 89mm, so it's the same width as our GLULAM beams. So what we're going to do is kind of create a column that'll become a little stub on the end of this wall, and then we're just going to pack this wall out from starting at the last door to come out so it's level, so it doesn't actually jump out. There'll just be 2 layers of OSB on the thinner stuff to make it the same thickness. Right, after a little bit of grunting, lifting and shifting, we've got both of the lifts in. So we've got one either end, which kind of spoiled us because in the past, as some of you will know, I've had to rig up cranes and do one side at a time, and now we can control lift both the ends of the beam at the same time, get it to height. We might even do 2 beams at the same time because we can. Yeah, we've got some extensions, but I don't think we need them. Dining table.
Just don't trip over that thing.
Okay, go on. So we're going to go to lift the pair at the same time. These have been sat out, unfortunately, for a week or 2 in the elements. So one side's just got a few little splits in it, just where it's been getting damp and then drying in the extreme heat. So we've got the good side, which was facing down, and once it's sanded, it'll be fine. We haven't decided what we're going to do to it yet. So that's going to face that way, and then that one is going to flip up, clamp them together, and up it goes. Let's get a couple of these for the bridge. For a footbridge, you can get this stuff treated, can't you? all you need, 2 of these. Load of decking. This one first, yeah?
Where you going?
Towards me.
Yeah.
Top, yeah. And then that one back.
Yeah.
Bend the knees. Haven't quite worked out what we're going to do once we get it.
I'm going to go home at that.
Sliding this way. Oh mate,
What?
this is the really damaged one.
You are kidding. What? Did you know one was damaged?
No, well, I've just seen it.
Oh, you didn't know it was damaged?
No. Yeah, we're even leaving clamped as well. Right, so typically we've found a bit of damage on the other side at the bottom, so we're now brought them back down so we can flip them over, put the damaged bit at the top. I want to go home, really.
You want to do it that high?
Both can come my way. Which one are you doing?
Front one?
Yeah.
Carpeting.
Yeah, I thought. If that. Yeah. I didn't really want to do it, but I can't not get a spirit level on it before we leave, just to see how it's come out. We can just blame the chassis if it's off. Oh, it's not bad. That is probably the same as the floor pit. We're a little bit higher on the end of the chassis. Bang on. Might not be perfectly level yet, but it's exactly parallel to the floor of the chassis, and as soon as that chassis goes down, we should end up alright. Braced up that end. We've done the same up this end. It's kind of boxed in, it can't go anywhere. We're also going to leave the Genie's lifts here as well. I don't think much can go wrong overnight. Tomorrow, it's rafter day. Oh, beam's still up. That's a good sign. I've now got to rethink this little bit here. We've got to transition from a flat ceiling to a pitch ceiling. And there's no real specific place where that needs to be. I think what I'm going to do is shift this last truss, which is just loose there, up, and it can sit against the end of our glulam beam. We can then secure it into the end of it. This is then fixed to the bracing, and I think that's just going to help tie it all together. Then at this point we'll switch to our rafters. Surprisingly not as weighty as you might think. A few people were asking on Instagram. I don't know what they weigh. We obviously lifted them. They've got to be under 100 kilo each. I don't think we were carrying more than 50 each end. So not a crazy weight, but definitely a great way of clearing a span like that. Of course, we've now got to get all the rafters on there. We've got a good 25 or so rafters to get on. Now I've bought the rafters. I was going to try and use that reclaimed stuff, but by the time I rip down 8-inch rough sawn boards down to the dimensions I need, I'm going to have a load of wastage, I'm going to have a load of sawdust, and I'm working alone at the moment, so it just wouldn't be that easy to run them all through. I think this is a good way to go. Bought new. Insulation will fit better that way as well because it'll be smoother and tighter. As you know, I'm always trying to do things myself and using what I have. And in the past, we ended up using a scaffold hoist on a tower scaffold. I've done another way, which was just having ladders either end and putting a rung up one rung this side and then the other end. And I've done that with RSJs. I tell you what, guys, it is worth hiring something like this out because we just, it's so controlled. We were able to even lift it up and then slide it over. The only thing I would say is you've got these legs to deal with. So if you're lifting close to a wall, or if it's not like a knock through between two rooms and you're putting a steel beam in, you've got to make sure you've got an allowance for that, because if it's any closer, there's just no way you can get them in. I mean, You can get an extension. They did send it, an extension for these arms, which might help, but then you'd be lifting, your weight would be right out on the end of the forks. A little bit like when we did the trusses last time, I'm hoping I can straighten this out with this ratchet strap to pull this middle wall plumb, because at the moment it's off a little bit. And if it's off a little bit, then the end of our wall is going to be off, which is just going to throw it all. It's good there, and it's good there. So it's really just here. Definitely should have checked this one stage ago. I think the herringbone bracing on the trusses could be what's stopping us from correcting this now. Most of the building is fine, it's just at this end where there was less tying it together. It's all off that way a tiny bit, by about 15 mil. So we want to be able to tweak it back this way, and the whole thing will go together, which is fine, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to force it across now. Time for a bit more head scratching, and I'll come back to you. Okay, head scratching over, still some hair left, just. What we don't want to do is carry on doing what I'm doing now, which is trying to pull this middle wall over with the straps, because we know that it's 3 meters, our distance between the two walls is perfect all the way along. So we don't want to actually pull them together, we want to pull both of them that way. So the answer is, go for the giant steels, which form the silage clamps that we're in, and see if we can pull the middle wall across to that. And in turn, that should pull everything. Once we're happy, then I can fire in a load of braces, get them in place. By that point, we can start putting the rafters on, start OSBing, getting internal walls in, and that will hold it all, I hope. So I'm going to jump over the wall and see if I can find a safe place to hook on strap. The last 2 trusses are now in. It feels like everything's kind of really locked in solid now. I don't think there's going to be much movement at all. I'm going to leave that strap on. The other end, I'm going to build those gables after I've got the rafters on. That's just so I can get the height right. So if I want to carry on an overhang over the top, like a ladder, then I can kind of build up to it rather than trying to guess now. So what have we learnt from this stage? Well, first up, GLULAM beams are nice to work with. They're relatively light. In comparison to working with steel, or in comparison to working with oak beams or green timber, where when we've done that framing in the past, it's just been, well, pretty weighty, and normally you end up over-engineering them because it's quite hard to find span tables for green rough sawn beams, whereas GLULAM beams are pretty much a standardized thing, and you can work out things either from tables, or you can get engineers' drawings, and suppliers usually are able to help with that. So happy with how that's gone, and I think setting the beam lower so that our rafters sit on top is the right option. It makes more of a feature of the beam inside the room, but also I just think because we're not really notching the rafters too much, we're not going to be weakening them in any way. I think it's going to be a tidier way to do it, and it means potentially we've got more of a cross flow ventilation over the top of the ridge and back down again. Of course, not sort of kit you're going to buy and have lying around in the shed ready and waiting, although never say never, you know what I'm like. But, you know, it's readily available to hire, and bearing in mind that we've got a hire company sponsoring this build, it may have made sense to ask some favours and get these here. So I don't know how much these are. I'll try and find out, and I'll put it on the screen. You can find out on the website anyway. I'm working solo today. Craig's helping me a bit more at the moment, mainly because it's school holidays, so Joe can't really help during the daytime, and when we do try it, it's a bit manic and probably not safe having the kids running around. So we're working through it, but on the whole we're still grinding away, and I'm hoping that we can get the roof on this week, because surely this weather is not going to last forever. So definitely got some progress. So let's get this roof on, and we can breathe easy a little bit. There's going to be, the next video will be the rafters, and there's going to be a nice kind of feeling when we can wrap it in, know that we're weather tight. We can clear out everything that's in here, start from scratch, and then start on our internal walls. Then we've got the electrician. He was going to come this week, but we're not quite there, so we're going to get ready for first fix. Don't worry, all those people panicking, sending me emails, telling me I'm an umpty. We have allowed for all of the wiring, all the plumbing. This is not the finished wall, so we haven't closed up all of the walls unintentionally. Thank you to all our patrons for all their support. If you want to find out more, you can head over there. We'll put the links down in the description. And as always, thank you to Speedy Hire for supporting us through this build series as well. There we go. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time. No one's here to celebrate with me, but we've just leveled the whole building with a few little cranks and an old farm concrete wall. As Craig, who's been helping me, would say, that is bob on.